You're not gonna believe what happened on my own dock. I woke up one weekend to the sound of music, laughter, and the smell of catering trays, not from my house, but from the end of my dock. And there she was, Karen. Not just any Karen, our HOA president, self-appointed queen of the lake, holding a full-blown wedding reception on my private property. No text, no call, no permission. Just white chairs, decorations, a wedding arch, the whole 9 yards, on my dock. At first, I thought maybe it was a mistake. Maybe the party got the wrong house. But nope. Karen looked me dead in the eye, waved like it was her backyard, and went right back to posing for pictures with the bride and groom. When I reminded her that the dock was privately owned, and clearly marked asterisk, she just smirked and said, "It's for the community." That's when I knew this wasn't just some mix-up. It was entitlement at a whole new level. Now, I could have called the cops. I could have made a scene. But instead, I got creative. You want to use my dock without asking? Okay then. Let's see how far you'll go for that perfect wedding photo. So I did something that left the whole party scrambling, and let's just say, that dock wasn't staying put for long. So, here's a little background on Karen, in case you're wondering how we even got here. She moved into the neighborhood about 2 years ago and somehow landed the HOA president's spot faster than you can say monthly dues. Since then, it's been nothing but rule changes, passive-aggressive emails, and random inspections that just so happen to always target everyone ***. Meanwhile, she acts like the lake belongs to her, like she built it herself. The dock. My family built it years ago, way before Karen even knew this place existed. It's legally mine, part of my property, marked clearly on the survey, and even has signs that say *private dock*. But that didn't stop her from setting up an entire wedding event on it like it was some public park. And the wild part, she didn't just invite a few friends. There were over 40 people, a sound system, catering tables, even a guy with a drone getting aerial shots. As I stood there watching this unfold, guests started looking at me like I was the uninvited one. That's when it clicked. Karen must have told them this was dock. The nerve. But instead of yelling or shutting it down, I quietly slipped away and went straight for the tool shed. If she wanted a lakeside wedding, fine. I was about to give her one, just not the way she planned. I grabbed my little trolling motor from the shed, nothing fancy, just something I use when the kids want to float around the lake. Quiet, easy to set up, and just strong enough to move the dock if you unhook it from the anchors. I figured if Karen wanted to play games on my property, I'd let her play, just not where she expected. While everyone was distracted taking selfies and sipping champagne, I slipped under the dock, attached the motor, and started guiding it out, inch by inch, into the middle of the lake. No one noticed at first. They were too busy recording TikToks and tossing petals. But the moment the shore started getting smaller, the whispers started. I could hear someone ask, "Wait, are we moving?" And that's when the panic began to bubble up. Karen, of course, was too busy giving a speech about community unity to realize she was drifting away from it. Meanwhile, the groom was pacing, checking his phone for a signal, and the bride, oh, she was not thrilled about her dress catching lake breeze. And here's the twist. I wasn't the only one fed up. A few neighbors who'd dealt with Karen's nonsense saw what was happening and just stood there watching, sipping lemonade, like it was the best show on the lake. That's when I realized I wasn't alone in this. By the time the dock had floated a good 50 feet from shore, people really started to panic. The music cut out, the catering table tipped slightly, and someone's heels went straight through the cracks between the boards. Karen finally noticed the shore drifting further and further away, and the look on her face, pure confusion, followed by disbelief, then straight-up fury, was priceless. She stormed to the edge of the dock, waving her arms and yelling at, well, no one in particular. "Who authorized this?" she shouted, as if there was some lake official hiding in the reeds. A couple of guests tried to laugh it off, thinking maybe this was part of the plan. But when the wind picked up and the dock swayed, the laughter turned into frantic phone calls and shouting for help. Meanwhile, back on land, I was standing with a few neighbors who'd gathered near my backyard fence. One leaned in and whispered, "You actually did it." I just smiled. No one moved to stop it. Not one person from the neighborhood stepped forward. Everyone just watched it play out like some slow-motion reality show. Karen was pacing now, phone in hand, probably trying to reach someone on the HOA board. But it was a Saturday, no meetings, no backup, just her, a wedding party, and a floating piece of borrowed entitlement heading straight for the middle of the lake. Just when I thought the chaos couldn't get any better, one of the catering staff, some poor kid probably hired off a local gig app, yells out, the anchor line's gone." That's when it hit me. I had forgotten about the backup rope Karen must have added without me knowing. Apparently, someone had tied a line from the dock to a nearby tree earlier, probably to keep it steady for the event. And now it had snapped, which meant the dock was no longer drifting slowly. It was fully floating, picking up speed with the current. You could see it in everyone's faces, the realization that this wasn't just a harmless prank. The whole wedding setup was now moving toward the deeper part of the lake, and with no way to steer it, they were basically stuck on a party barge that no one had signed up for. Someone yelled for a paddle. Another guy tried to use a folding chair like an oar. The bride started freaking out about the cake tipping, while the groom was crouched at the edge of the dock trying to figure out if he could jump and swim back. But then, a jet ski engine rolled from across the lake, and guess who it was? Karen's ex-husband, Gary, who also happened to be my neighbor, and a guy who's had more run-ins with her than anyone else on this street, and he was coming in fast. Gary came in like some kind of lakeside action hero, aviators on, beer in hand, and a smirk that said he'd been waiting for this moment for years. He circled the drifting dock once, real slow, just soaking in the chaos. Karen was yelling his name, demanding he'd do something, but he just laughed and said, "Thought you were in charge, sweetheart." The guests were clinging to their chairs, holding down centerpieces as the dock bobbed harder with every wave his jet ski sent their way. Finally, Gary pulled up alongside and tossed them a rope. But instead of towing them back to shore, he slowly started pulling the dock asterisk toward the far end asterisk of the lake, opposite direction. People started panicking again. The bride was on the verge of tears. Karen was now trying to take charge, yelling over the music, over the guests, over Gary. And that's when the real twist hit. Just as Gary started to circle around for another pass, his phone buzzed. Loud enough for everyone nearby to hear, he shouted, "Oh hey, just got confirmation. That dock. Still an asterisk, my asterisk name. You never transferred the title in the divorce." Karen went dead silent. You could feel the tension break like a snapped oar. The wedding wasn't just illegally held, it was hosted on property that didn't even belong to her, or me. It was Gary's all along. After that bombshell, the mood shifted fast. Guests started packing up, the DJ cut the music, and the bride, clearly over it, kicked off her heels and called for an Uber boat, if that's even a thing. Karen didn't say another word. She just stood there, frozen, realizing the wedding she threw without permission had actually happened on her *X's dock, the same guy she'd been battling in HOA meetings for months. Gary eventually towed the dock back, nice and slow, and held everyone off with the politest fake smile I've ever seen. As the last guest stepped onto dry land, he turned to me and said, "You loosened the anchor, didn't you?" I just shrugged. He grinned and walked off like it was the best day he'd had in years. Gary eventually towed the dock back, nice and slow, and held everyone off with the politest fake smile I've ever seen. As the last guest stepped onto dry land, he turned to me and said, "You loosened the anchor, didn't you?" I just shrugged. He grinned and walked off like it was the best day he had in years. Karen hasn't mentioned the wedding since. No HOA emails, no passive-aggressive notes, just silence. And honestly, the neighborhood's been a lot more peaceful since that day. People wave more, neighbors chat, and the dock, well, it's right where it belongs, still marked *private*. If there's one thing I learned, it's this: respect people's boundaries, especially when they float, because not every problem needs drama. Sometimes you just let it drift and watch the truth surface on its own.